Yes, sir.
Triple H just dropped maybe the coldest bar of WrestleMania season, and he didn't say it in a promo.
Okay.
He didn't do it in a tweet. He did it on the Flagrant podcast where he said, any fool can run a business in the red. It doesn't take a genius to do that. That was a subliminal shot at one man, and that one man is named Tony Khan, who runs the money pit known as AEW Wrestling. And this, Lauren, is exactly what I've been preaching. I've been saying this for the last 2 years, and nobody wants to listen. AEW's not a profitable company. Y'all guys can scream it. Tony Khan can feed you all the bullshit that you want, but Tony Khan is bleeding money into a company so he can cosplay as a wrestling promoter. And the IWC is clapping like trained seals.
Because if anybody else was running this, it would be done already.
Out of business, right?
Yeah.
So he goes to Chicago 5 times a year so that he can get a crowd reaction. But then when you look at every other city that he goes to, nobody's showing up. He is cooking the books. This is a vanity project. He is not as successful as they talk about TV deals. There's no way that TV deal is not just ridden with different clauses, and he's funding and he's overpaying. He overpays his talent. He's overpaying for production. He's overpaying in every element. And I feel vindicated because when somebody like Triple H speaks on this, he has to speak with an air of confidence because he knows the reaction this is going to get. But the reality is, AEW is a hobby funded by an inheritance kid. And the IWC, I get it, they're going to defend it to the death because they can't handle the idea that the thing that they've been told is a precious alternative is really 2 bad quarters away from being a tax write-off for the Khan family.
Yeah.
You know, when he decides, or when Daddy Khan decides that the fun is over, it's over. They're not a profit. Here's the question, though, for you, Lauren, and anybody who's listening.
Yeah.
If AEW was any other company managed by a competent business owner, not somebody with unlimited stupidity and infinite pockets, but by a legitimate business owner, would this company still exist today?
I do think it would, because I think that there is a different demographic of people that it could appease to, but I think that it maybe needs some extra guidance, and maybe a little bit of rules isn't essentially a bad thing.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think what you just said is completely contradictory. There isn't the audience that you're being told exists doesn't exist.
It's just a small group of people that are super loud.
500,000 people.
Okay,
is basically what their audience is. They're bumping up to 600,000. I had someone the other day tell me, "Oh, the numbers are trending upward," because they went from 500,000, which was their worst viewership, up to like 620,000. Year over year, since AEW started, their numbers are dropping on a consistent basis.
Question.
Yes.
Does NXT have more viewers than AEW?
Pretty consistently, yes. It flip-flops. It's a battle, but you're talking about they're battling with the developmental brand of WWE and claiming to be a success.
So wait.
But they're trying to run the company. See, NXT operates out of a small building with a small crowd.
Yeah.
On probably an extremely tight budget, I would guess, the NXT. Whereas AEW is cosplaying so hard, they want, when you turn that TV on, for you to mistake that for looking like WWE, right? We got the same size screens. We got the same pyro. We got the same, they finally have.
Like if they had a realistic budget is what you're asking me? Or like if they're trying to run exactly like they are now?
I'm saying if anybody else was running, because here's what I believe is happening. They're losing money, and Tony's just pulling money out of his pocket.
Oh, I think that's happening
and he's sliding it, and then but he's getting a TV deal because I guarantee you the wording in that contract, he's supplying so much revenue in doing things that are keeping that deal alive. So he could take that piece of paper and go, look, we got $100 million TV deal. But it's not being talked about that, like, his roster expenses probably far exceed what that TV deal. They're operating in the red. And so my point is, there's no other competent business person who would operate in the red at some point, and they finally moved into smaller venues, which has helped, but it's still at some point they're going to have to scale down the roster, stop overpaying people, stop getting into bidding wars with WWE, because the problem is the way they try to function is they just try to outbid WWE on people.
Really?
Because what else? Really, what is the selling point to go to AEW? If you really, not from the IWC
I guess
sickos.
that's true.
The IWC sickos will tell you, well, you get to make your own creative and you can be happy and not wrestle as much. But most people who want to be pro wrestlers, that's not their concern is wrestling at the highest level. I would say for the most part, that's what people want. So to me, the reality is the only reason you're choosing AEW is they offer you a fat paycheck that you go, I can't get this in WWE. Like with Ricochet.
Or you couldn't make it in WWE.
With Ricochet basically is going, well, WWE wouldn't listen to my creative. That's fine. If that's what made you go over there. Did they pay him
more at AEW?
Yeah, I'm sure they did. Because he was, anybody who makes the jump from WWE to AEW is a hot commodity and a talking point for AEW for at least a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And then they cool off, and the problem is, Tony Khan has this money where he can invest. We joke about the surprise, right? He likes the surprise. I have a big surprise this week. Tony Khan has the money to pay somebody to be a 3-week surprise. And then when that wears off,
he's got another one.
It's not that big of a deal for him to continue to pay that and then pay the next person.
Yeah.
Eventually that catches up and somebody will get tired of that.
True.
Whether it's him, whether it's his dad, like eventually when it's not fun anymore. And what's happening is as the ratings trend down, you've got to assume it's not as fun for Tony Khan. It's still fun right now, but it's not as fun. And all it's going to take is a couple of these guys leaving and bad-mouthing. I know he's got like a lawsuit with Dolph Ziggler's brother. Like there are,
really?
Yeah, there are things that aren't being talked about. Oh, I don't know. You'd have to look that up. Like,
shoot, that's crazy.
But there are things that aren't being talked about kind of behind the scenes of the structure. Like you CM Punk left, he kind of exposed the circus. Dolph Ziggler's brother left, he kind of exposed more of the circus. Mm-hmm. I think you've had a couple people who've said like this is bullshit. You see Britt Baker, you see a lot of these people who are pillars of the company who've essentially been pushed off because, hey, we paid Mercedes Moné $1 billion. I know it's not $1 billion, but we've got to feature her in the forefront and listen to everything she says.
Got to get our money's worth.
The Young Bucks are EVPs, so we've got to let them do whatever they want. And I think that eventually that won't be fun. Eventually Tony Khan will get pissed off, and he'll either put his foot down and he'll change for the better, or he'll just go, I'm fucking done. I can't stand you pieces of shit. Take the company, run it into the fucking ground. I'm going to get my money out of here. And once there's not unlimited pockets, it'll be back in like churches and basketball gyms. I mean, that's the reality.
True.